If you are a man that prides himself in having excellent recovery, then in this video I'm going to rank the most common recovery methods from S tier being the best all the way down to F tier being the absolute worst. Let me know in the comments below if I've missed a couple that you actually do regularly, but for the most part I think I've covered most things here. My opinion, my experience, I'm a former British paratrooper, special force support group operator. I actually coach men on a longevity program, and it's important that us as men that do extreme disciplines get this right, because if you get this wrong, you can spend a lot of money over the years entering rabbit holes and not actually improving your recovery much long term. So this is an awareness piece, but I hope to put you on the right tracks with this so you can have the greatest impact on your recovery going forward. So hopefully you appreciate the intro. Let's get cracking. I'm going to start things off from this side. I'm going to start things and then I'm going to finish with this side. Not for any particular reason. But I'm not just going to give you my place on the chart. I'm also going to give you my justifications. You're probably going to notice a common theme throughout. Ice bath, number one. Okay? So, ice bath. What does an ice bath actually do? So, an ice bath creates an anti-inflammatory environment which reduces blood flow, reduces inflammation. So, by actually creating an anti-inflammatory environment, you reduce the body's ability to heal itself. You reduce recovery because the body needs blood flow to recover. So you, with an ice bath, as a recovery method, you actually prolong the body's ability to recover. Because that window where you're still cold, your body doesn't have the ability to nourish itself effectively. So for recovery, for most people, and I say most people because there is a disclaimer to this, 99% of people that do ice baths to improve their recovery methods, this is who this video is aimed at, right? So for that reason, ice baths is going to go down here, right? However, I will caveat that with the 1% category. No, the 0.1% category, where it may be S tier. If you are an elite athlete that is training for the Olympics and you are training 10 to 15 to 20 hours per week and your performance is already at the crazy peak level and you're not trying to improve performance, and all that matters is you getting through that week of training, and you want to reduce inflammation because you don't care about the development of your body through these training sessions, then an ice bath may go up a couple of notches, maybe to like B tier, because it's all about getting your body through the sessions, not using the sessions as a developmental tool to improve. For this 0.1% of people, for example, Michael Phelps, who is 8 hours a day in the pool back in the day when he was winning gold medals, after a pool session, he'd be in the ice bath reducing inflammation because he's already at peak performance. Hopefully you understand what I mean by this and why, for most people, it is a terrible option for recovery. The next one, bit of a wild card. Improving aerobic fitness. So as you and me sit here now, we are sitting in an aerobic state, right? Our body is using, for the most part, oxygen, fats, tiny bit of glucose, tiny bit of carbohydrate for energy. But for the most part, we're using oxygen as energy. If we have a more efficient aerobic energy system, we will have more energy at rest. So if we improve our aerobic fitness, we will have more energy for free. Our body goes, oxygen, thank you very much. We have now more energy, right? And because we spend most of our time in the recovery energy system, in the aerobic energy system, recovering, a greater aerobic fitness level improves our ability to recover faster. Hopefully that makes sense, because for the most part, when we're asleep, we're working aerobically. Having 5 to 10% more energy available because we have a better and more efficient aerobic fitness level gives us more energy at rest when we are recovering. So for that reason, improving our aerobic fitness is going to massively improve our body's ability to recover. Sleep. We know sleep is going straight to the top, right? Sleep is where our body goes into the deep states of sleep, and that's where we do most of our repair, regeneration, and growth of tissues. Without sleep, everything else crumbles. We should be aiming to about 7 to 9 hours per night. However, if you can't actually reach the 7-hour mark, you should be trying to control the controllables. For example, if you have a really hectic family life and kids are up middle of the night, you should be really trying to improve the quality of your sleep, because you might not be getting the numbers. However, if you have the luxury, quality and quantity will literally change your life. We know this. However, one little tip I'll give you with sleep, and this is where a lot of people do get it wrong. Most people finish work on an evening and they go into a state of, on a night where you should be starting to unwind. Basically, the technical term for unwinding would be reducing stress. Yeah? The technical term for stress in the science world is cortisol. So you should have a period of a couple of hours before you go to sleep of reducing cortisol from your life. This fucking thing is one of the worst things you can do to reduce cortisol. Watching hectic action films and series is one of the worst things you can do. Playing online games is one of the worst things you can do to reduce cortisol, because it stimulates you, it boosts adrenaline, all of these things. And that's why people struggle dropping off to sleep, because they are increasing cortisol without realising instead of reducing it. Protein shake. For a lot of blokes, funnily enough, this is probably as far as their recovery goes. Protein shake, and that's it, right? Protein shake after training is overrated, because training actually utilises carbohydrates. So the priority after training should be to replenish carbohydrates. Yes, protein is required to repair the muscle. However, the carbohydrates are the priority after the training session. So a protein shake is going to do little to nothing for recovery. A protein shake is good if you have no other option of protein available. However, you should be prioritising carbohydrates. Nutrient-dense food. What I mean by nutrient-dense food is you've got two options with food. You've got food that serves you as a high-performing man, and you've got food that serves your emotions. What I mean by food that serves you is gives you high energy and is packed with nutrients. Typically whole foods, not heavily processed. Good amount of fibre. And nutrient-dense food is about it's serving you for a specific reason. So you're going to eat nutrient-dense food if you want to feel like your brain is operating to a high standard for most of the day. If you've got a very demanding psychological or emotionally demanding job, you want to be eating brain foods. If you've got a physically demanding job, you want to be eating physically high-performing physical foods, like great quality carbohydrates that you digest really well. So, nutrient-dense foods. Without nutrient-dense foods, you have no ability to recover. But would I put it in the same category as sleep and aerobic fitness? I think I'm going to put this in A tier. Yeah. A tier for nutrient dense food. I'm gonna ask you a question, and that question is: which of these methods are reactive, and which of these methods are proactive? Just think about that question as I continue. Right, peptides have kind of caught traction over the past few years. I've actually tried them myself. But with peptides, there is a little bit of science behind them on their ability to increase recovery in rats and lab mice and stuff like that. There's been no human trials with peptides. However, they've still gained a lot of popularity in the fitness space. One thing I say about peptides is why? Because when you start to ask yourself why, you start to uncover a bit of a pattern as to why the hell you would ever want to just take some random things that you're buying off the internet instead of solving the problem properly. There is some decent information on peptides, and you know what, they probably do work to a certain extent. However, you've got to not address the fact that the physical tissue is weak. You've got to think about the pattern that led to the physical tissue being weak. Taking peptides and jabbing a needle into your stomach twice per day is not going to improve the pattern, the thing that you're doing in your life that resulted in that elbow pain. It's not. It's not going to address the pattern. It's not going to address the root cause. Peptides is F tier. Reactive chemicals that have no human trials behind them. The next one, sauna. Okay, so we've got ice baths. We already mentioned the ice baths, E tier. And we've got sauna. Okay. So the sauna is heat, certain heat for a certain amount of minutes. And the sauna is going to oppose the ice bath. The sauna is actually going to create an inflammatory environment, which is going to increase blood flow, increase nutrients to the cells. Now you've got to ask yourself, do you want this to happen to improve recovery? Do you want to increase your body's ability to nourish the cells? Yes. So I've looked at the science. There is not much science on whether saunas are effective, right? However, me using common sense, I can literally tell you that by creating an inflammatory environment to help recovery is actually a pretty good idea, right? So for that reason, I'm going to put saunas in B tier. Hopefully you appreciate the justifications. The next one, improving strength. So how would improving strength improve your recovery? If you improve your body's ability to do more demanding stuff, you reduce the requirement for recovery. If you improve your body's capacity to do more, if you get stronger, the demand becomes less. So if the demand becomes less, the adverse effects become less. Does that make sense? So by improving your strength, the demand that you previously placed on yourself will appear less on your body, your joints, your muscles. So this ends up going all the way up to S tier in exactly the same category as sleep. You should think of improving your strength exactly the same way as you think about sleep. They both set the foundations for the repair, recovery, and building of your tissues, both muscular tissues, soft tissues, ligaments, tendons, bones. Without these two, recovery does not occur. The next one we're going to talk about is weed. So, marijuana actually reduces testosterone, increases, it's an estrogenic, increases estrogen. With no testosterone, you have no motivation. And to be honest, people that take weed often take TRT as well, because they're destroying the testosterone with weed, so they need to boost their testosterone with TRT. Again, they're basically entering a random reactive cycle. The question again remains, why would they need to take weed for recovery? It's the pattern. What is going on? What is the underlying issue here? Would you as a man ever want to reduce your testosterone levels? If you don't have any testosterone levels, your motivation is zero next day. It doesn't matter how well you feel you are recovered. If you're having weed, you're going to have no motivation. No testosterone, no strength. No fucking spark as a man. Weed is a terrible idea. It might feel nice. It might make you go to sleep. However, it lowers your testosterone. TRT. TRT gives you that testosterone increase, a gentle testosterone increase, and surely a gentle testosterone increase is gonna benefit you. Well, it's going to benefit your recovery while you are on it. However, what it's going to do is give you an illusion that you're actually in a decent state. You've got one area of your body, testosterone, which is apparently now elevated. However, again, you have to look at the reasons why you are choosing to do these things. What is the pattern that made you choose to increase your testosterone with an injection? Were you doing things wrong in order for your testosterone to be low? Yes. No? Okay. Now, if you were doing everything right, and then you choose to have TRT to increase your recovery methods further, then okay, maybe. But for the most part, terrible. Right. Stretching. What does stretching do with regards to recovery? So, stretching for most people is doing 5 or 10 minutes after a training session. And what stretching actually does is it resets the muscle fibers back to like a natural normal state. By resetting the muscle fibers back to a natural normal state, you actually create an environment of, increased blood flow, right? However, it's only temporary. And you could even say stretching before the session or stretching after the session is a good idea. Well, it is a good idea if you only want temporary results. 5 to 10 minutes of stretching doesn't improve the capacity of anything. The only thing it does is increases blood flow. And if you increase blood flow and you have the intention to increase blood flow, that is only going to ever keep the blood flow increased for about 45 minutes. So, stretching. Terrible. Terrible, honestly. Acupuncture, what is it? Acupuncture is stabbing little needles into the muscle fibers to increase inflammation, to increase blood flow. Acupuncture is actually really good for people that have like severe bone breaks that can't actually move the muscle themselves, or for example people with people like nerve injuries and stuff that need to heal a really tricky part of the body. It could be really good for that. However, for most people who can move their muscles and move their joints and actually create blood flow without a needle, it's pointless for most people. There are a very rare couple of people it might be useful. However, it's only useful for people with nerve injuries and massive bone breaks, because they can't actually have access to the muscle and be able to stimulate these tissues themselves by contracting their muscles. Most people get acupuncture, in my experience, from like weird deep shoulder injuries and stuff like that, where they think for some reason that they can't work the functions of these muscles with lifting in the gym. They can't improve the capacity. They can. Don't need. I've had acupuncture myself, and yeah, it was okay. It served its purpose for improving a little bit of inflammation, a little bit of tapping on the muscles to try and create some response. But we can do it ourselves. We can move our muscles and joints. We don't need acupuncture. If you can't move your muscles and joints, then acupuncture may be useful. So this one goes a little bit, because I'm all for creating inflammation, this goes a little bit higher than, I'm going to put that D tier actually. Yeah. Hydration. Basically, water is, the job of water in the body is to transport nutrients around the body. So you could be eating nutrient-dense food, but if you're drinking barely any water, it's not going to digest. You could be eating loads of carbohydrates, loads of good carbohydrates, but if you're not drinking enough water, you're not going to be able to digest these carbohydrates, right? So hydration is crucial. You know, I think they say 80% of our body's water, so it's massive, right? And you will notice the difference. You will notice the difference in your recovery rates if you up your water intake. Massage, the last one, last but not least. So massage, again, you've got to ask yourself, why do I need to have a massage? And then if the answer is because the massage feels nice, then you've got to ask yourself another question. How long for? And then you get a real sense of the price this is going to cost you over the next 10 years. If you're being honest with yourself. A massage every week, a massage every 2 weeks, a massage every month. It starts to become quite a bill. And you've just got to be honest with yourself. Is it causing long-lasting change? And I don't think it is, right? It feels nice. Listen, everybody loves a massage. Feels nice. However, how useful is it to improving your life? Is it improving you physically, or is it just improving you emotionally? So, massage. Where do I put massage? So, again, right, the point I made earlier on about the ice baths with elite level athletes that need the ice baths when they're training 10 hours a day. It's the same sort of thing for massage. These elite athletes will get like a very dynamic massage to try and calm everything down, or like to wake their muscles up before a training session because their body's fucked, and then they'll probably have a massage after the session as well to try and give them a bit of a relaxed state. For most of us, we don't benefit from a massage at all physically. However, it does benefit us emotionally. And is it better than acupuncture? Is a massage better than acupuncture? I fucking hate this. This is really difficult for me. Is massage in the same category as ice baths and stretching? Yes, it is. Terrible. Because the reason I'm going to say it's terrible is because of the reason why you are getting it. The reason why is because you haven't just looked a couple of layers deeper. I need a massage because my neck, my back hurts. Why does your back hurt? Is it because you aren't doing any of these? So, just to finish off this slide, that's it done. There's my recovery methods ranked by effectiveness. The choice. You either continue to live your life reacting to every little thing that goes on and spend a fortune in the process with, things that are not really a long-term solution. And by doing that, you actively choose to reduce your capacity. And the more you reduce your capacity, the more you enter that rabbit hole of survival mode, and means that you have to rely on these reactive measures more often. It doesn't have to be the case. The moment you decide to start increasing your capacity, everything starts to change, because you can, doesn't matter how old you are, continue to improve your capacity. Improve your body's ability to do more demanding stuff with less of the adverse effects. You don't have to choose the recovery method. You can choose to improve your body's capacity. If you want one-to-one coaching on exactly that, that is what we do on the longevity program. The link is down below. Book onto a call with me. We'll have a conversation to see if you are a good fit. If not, I will see you tomorrow in the next one.